everybody, my name is Tanya and today I'm going to talk about a personal reading goal that I have to read through one of my favourite authors' works chronologically. And so that author, as I'm sure you've gleaned already from a number of my videos, is Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is a hugely prolific writer. She wrote 80 crime novels and short story collections, 19 plays and 6 romance novels under a pseudonym of Mary Westmacott, and is one of the most best-selling authors of all time. Needless to say, I am a huge fan of Agatha Christie and I have launched a project to read through all 80 of her crime novels and short story collections chronologically. So this is my 3rd year doing this project and I'm reading them at a rate of 12 years, so it's meant to be one a month, but this past year I've been quite slack with that. And as you'll know from my December TBR, I am reading the last 4 for this year in December. So I've read a lot of Agatha Christie over the years. Like, I have read around 43, I think, of her titles. So I'm around the halfway point overall, but I had a lot of gaps. So I have gone back to the start and am now working my way through, reading the ones that I have read already and filling in all the gaps as I go along. While Agatha Christie has a number of recurring characters, so there are a lot of novels featuring her rotund, egg-headed Belgian detective with the very impressive moustaches, Hercule Poirot. There are a number of Miss Marple mysteries. There are a few that feature the crime-fighting duo Tommy and Tuppence. And then there are a few other characters that pop up in various stories but are not necessarily one of her main detectives. So while she's got all these recurring characters, there's no real chronology that you have to read the books in. You can read them in pretty much any order. Sometimes there are slight allusions to previous cases in books, but in general there's no set order that you have to read things in. But I thought it was interesting to do a chronological read through to get a sense of any development that she had over time. So I found going back that there were quite a few things from her early writings that I hadn't read, and there are quite a few things that are a little bit more adventure-y or a little bit more action-packed compared to some of her more traditional mystery stories. So there are ones where we kind of race around Africa, or there's a lot of kind of high intrigue going on instead of Hercule Poirot employing his little grey cells, or Miss Marple quietly detecting. There are some that are a little bit more suspenseful and a little bit more actiony that I'm finding in her earlier work. So that's something that I'm finding working through chronologically. Also, it's interesting to find patterns in terms of she started with a Hercule Poirot, then she moved on to Tommy and Tuppence, and it took quite a little while before she managed to introduce Miss Marple. And this year I've had a huge section of Hercule Poirot and I've read several Hercule Poirot novels in a row. So I'm finding that interesting too, to see what kind of stages she went through with her writing. Now, with almost 3 years done, I have made it to this point. I'm currently reading Murder is Easy, so I've still got a long way to go. And also I'm reading these 3 short story collections, so I've read some more books than just here because a lot of them are in the short story collections, but in general I've got quite a ways to go. So I'm going to finish up on Sad Cypress up here. So I'm almost to the end of the first shelf. Next year I'll manage to say I've read this entire shelf. But it's a project that's going to take quite a few years to get through. And honestly, I'm loving it, and I'm sure I will be quite happy with how long it takes because she's wonderful. I know I've said this so many times on my channel and you must be getting sick of it, but honestly, I love Agatha Christie. I think she's a fantastic writer and you should definitely all check her out. There aren't many authors that you can say have 80 books to work through if you decide to read their entire bibliography. But Agatha is one of those few. And so there's going to be a huge sense of achievement when I get to the last one and can say that I have read everything written by Agatha Christie. So getting to our collection, we have a full set of these Harper editions, all of the crime novels individually and then all of the short stories in these 3 volumes. We also own her 6 romance novels under her pseudonym down here. So once we get through the crime stories chronologically, I will be reading those as well. Up this end of the shelf we have some books on Agatha Christie, so there's a couple of books about her works. This is her autobiography here, so I'll be reading that at the end of things too. There's this one that came up in my Shelves of Fate video that is Agatha Christie's Secret Notebooks, and they discovered a huge cache of her notebooks recently and have started publishing some stuff from there. So again, this is something that I'll read once I've got through all of her works chronologically. This also includes 2 unpublished Poirot short stories that we wouldn't have in the rest of the collection. We also have this volume of some of her plays that we bought in London when we went to see The Mousetrap, which is the world's longest running play, and we went to see it at St Martin's Theatre last year, which was fantastic. It was so fantastic to see it in the place that has been running continuously since it started 60 years ago now, and that is just phenomenal. I actually saw it in Melbourne when it came to Australia a few years ago now, but it was always something on my bucket list, if you will, that one day I'm going to get to London and I'm going to go see The Mousetrap, and last year that came true. We did it, and we got this play volume there. So it doesn't include all of her plays, but it does include some. This is one I talked about in the first On My Shelf video that I did, which is an archaeological memoir that Agatha Christie wrote when she accompanied her husband, Max Mallowan, on an archaeological dig to Syria and Iraq. So there's that one. And I've also got these 3 volumes here, which are books by the members of the Detection Club, and this was a group of writers who wrote together, and it includes a whole bunch of famous crime writers of the time. So this has got Agatha Christie, it's got Dorothy L. Sayers, it's got G.K. Chesterton, Marjorie Allingham. There's an amazing variety of famous crime novelists of the era who wrote together. And so I've got a few of those here. This is The Floating Admiral, Ask a Policeman, and 6 Against the Yard. So again, these I'll be reading once I get through the rest of her works chronologically. And that pretty much sums up our collection here. I've had a couple of requests for a bookshelf tour, so I am hoping that I'll get to that soon. The first few shelves will be pretty predictable when it comes to what's on my shelf, but I will include this in there, so I'll show off each of the books a little bit about that. I'm trying to work out what kind of videos I'm going to do around this, whether I'll do maybe a yearly wrap up and talk about the books that I read in the year, but I am kind of wrapping up things in my monthly wrap up, so I don't know what to talk about in that regards. But if you'd like to see me go back and talk about some of the ones that I've read before I started making my booktube channel, do let me know down in the comments and I can work out something to do there. So to do this read along, I have taken the list that's available on the official Agatha Christie website that I will link down below, and have it all printed out here, and we're going through and checking off our progress, and I like having something that I can check box. So this is certainly a long-term project that you will see me talking about for quite a long time to come on my channel, but when I keep talking about it, this is what I'm talking about. So I'm reading through the works of the one and only wonderful Agatha Christie chronologically. If you've read any Agatha Christie, do let me know down in the comments which ones you've read and whether you like them or not. Or if you haven't read any Agatha Christie and are wondering where to start, do let me know. I don't think I can pick any one favourite Agatha Christie novel. I usually narrow it down to 3. My favourite Hercule Poirot story is Murder on the Orient Express. My favourite Miss Marple is Sleeping Murder. And my favourite, without any of her main detectives, that I get to read this month finally, is And Then There Were None. But there are many more that I absolutely adore, basically everything I love, but there are some particular favourites that I have. So if you do want any recommendations, do let me know down in the comments and I can let you know some of the others that are my favourites. That's probably all that I've got to say about this project, but if you do have any questions about anything, do let me know down in the comments, and as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!